Welcome to Opinions in 10, online posts and biblical opinions in under 10 minutes. Starting now. Today's post is from Hardstone Graveyard. Am I the jerk for rejecting my wealthy younger brother's dinner invite? I'm a 27-year-old male and I have a bit of a childish and envious personal attitude towards my younger brother, who is a 23-year-old man. He is pretty much the closest person I know to a child star, someone who has never seemed to suffer any hardships in his life. Consequences, yes, but no hardships. He is one of the best athletes in the state, and he didn't even go to college. He got thorough grades in high school, with A's and occasional B's every once in a while. He is exceptionally good-looking, with thick, fluffy hair and a good smile. He seemed to always be in a relationship with a girl in high school, and a new one would show up every year. He had a smooth way of breaking up without hurting them and always had an entourage to back him up. He always had friends over and would always go out with them. He's beloved in the community, and everyone not only gives him attention, but also telling him he is going places and stuff like that. He's got a great body and is doing quite a bit better than me in the adult world. He started working at 16 and has been climbing up and saving well. He's quite financially literate and was able to secure a 2-story house with his fun and beautiful fiancée and earns a 6-figure salary already at 23. Meanwhile, I began working while I went to college for an internship, never had a girlfriend, was never really popular or attractive. I got decent grades and I'm merely acknowledged under my brother's shadow. I struggle with income, and I don't really have much of a life outside of work. It's probably more personal issues of anything, but that's who I am. Yesterday he called me and said he wanted to invite me out to dinner at this prestigious restaurant with his fiancée. I told him no and said I was busy. He insisted. I gave him a firm no and hung up right then and there. I feel awful and pathetic now. I feel like Walter White rejecting the treatment and on some road of redemption. Obviously, I don't think I could do that since he would probably beat me, but I feel ill. I wanted to be the older brother who would guide him, but it seems like I need his guide, if anything. I love him and I'm proud of him, but I feel like I shouldn't be his brother. I feel insignificant around him, and he feels like a character straight out of a movie. I'm sure he has hardships, but at least he's there with other people. I sit in my cheap apartment where I've had moments struggling to save up my own money. I try to distance myself from him and give him space, really for myself, and avoid contact with him, but I feel so stupid doing that. Am I the jerk for rejecting my wealthy younger brother's invite to dinner? Well, I have to admit that it's a bit refreshing to see someone actually admit to something like envy. Most of the time on these things you have to pull it out of the post from the legendary void between the lines. But there is something about human beings that unfortunately makes us feel as though if we are the tiniest bit older than the other person, then we should have more of life figured out. Granted, if you are 70 and the other person is 20, you should be able to sit down and unload a world of wisdom. But to be a few years older is not to fall under that rule. That being said, the order of birth seems a silly way to determine who should be more successful in life than another person. We have examples of second-born children being more prominent than the firstborn all over the Bible. Abel, Moses, Isaac, etc. What is there about being born first that would guarantee the skill sets needed to successfully navigate the world that we live in? Surely the rule cannot possibly be that if you are the firstborn, then you are guaranteed a happy, successful life, and if you're the secondborn, well, sorry, kid. You see, you're the secondborn, so I'm already going to get the nice house, the good job, the beautiful wife, and as second prize, you walk away with a toaster. Now it sounds like he wanted to spend time with you, so he called you up and asked you to dinner, to which you responded with a firm, but probably at least somewhat grouchy, no, and hung up on him. no doubt leaving him confused and bewildered on the other end. So you probably know where I'm going with this. The first stop is Moses, who wrote in the 10th commandment, "You shall not covet your neighbor's house, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's." In other words, you are not to allow the things that your neighbor has, or your brother in this case, to affect you. You cannot allow yourself to want those things or be envious of those things. It sounds like it's a little late for you, as you've admitted to being envious to all of those things or their modern-day equivalent. Solomon goes on to expound on this in Proverbs 14:30 and tell us why you are not to envy. The answer, of course, is that it destroys our well-being as well as others. The verse reads, "A peaceful heart is the life of the flesh, but envy the rottenness of the bones." Jesus further teaches what Moses said and says, "Take heed and beware of covetousness, because a man's life does not consist in the abundance of the things that he has." It's well noted in medical studies that your emotions have a major effect on your bodily health. If you continue in this way, you're not going to be doing well by any sense of the word. You're going to destroy everything, including your health, and he's going to have the same stuff, the stuff that you were envious of to begin with. I will first say that no matter what situation you find yourself in life, you can always be a guide in some way. Riches do not solve all of life's problems. Let me give you a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson that you may find helpful here. He said, "In my walks, every man I meet is my superior in some way, and that I learned from him. There will always be things that you can do better than your brother that he will need help with, and there will always be things that he can do better than you that you need help with." So when you're faced with envy, there are two options, and you have to choose one of them. They are to either get angry and envious of the other person, or you can find out how they did what they did and learn from it. The option that makes no sense at all, however, is to become angry and cut off contact because he did it better. Think about these things. And I'll leave it there for today. If you like this content, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. God bless.